Welcome, everyone. Welcome to our April webinar focused on shaping the future of STEM, a blueprint on STEM internships with Abbott Laboratories. I'm excited to welcome you all in today. I wanted to start with just a little bit of information about the Texas Girls Collaborative Project. We are an organization here to support all of those across our state who are working to inform and motivate girls to pursue careers in STEM. One of our initiatives is the Million Women Mentors Texas effort, which focuses on connecting STEM mentors to girls and young women to help them persist and succeed in STEM programming. And the webinar series is part of both of these efforts. A few of the things that we do across the state to try to foster these connections and collaborations. We have numerous Google groups across the state. So if you're interested in joining a listserv that helps you get connected with STEM opportunities and webinars and funding opportunities and programs across the state, be on the lookout for those on our Texas Girls website or join in the regional Google group near you. We also have Texas STEM Connections, which is like a volunteer match.com system where educators and individuals and organizations looking for STEM volunteers can put in requests and get connected with STEM volunteers across the state. Right now, most of that or all of that's being done virtually. There are lots of virtual opportunities that are in the system. And it also has the capability of doing in-person volunteer matching as well. We also host an annual Texas Women and Girls in STEM Summit. You'll hear a little bit more about that at the end of the webinar. We have a monthly e-newsletter, this webinar series, and workshops that we do across the state that focus on curriculum and best practices in engaging girls in STEM. I wanted to make a special shout out to one of our resources that we have on our txgcp.org, our Texas Girls Collaborative Project.org website. And these are a couple of free STEM resource lists, compiled resources of free STEM curriculum and content and virtual field trips and professional development for educators that we've put out there in a curated way to hopefully help people navigate all of the free STEM resources that are available to them right now. And with that, I want to welcome our friends from Abbott, and I'm excited to have them join us to tell us about their high school STEM internship program and a blueprint that they have available for others to use to be able to create similar programming. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Abbott.
Okay, thank you, Tricia. It's a pleasure to be here on behalf of Abbott. We are so excited to be a part of the Texas Women and Girls Collaborative efforts. I'm personally excited because I'm a native Austinite and mother who had some great role models and science teachers right here in our backyard that helped shape my career as an engineer. So it's great to see it's grown to something beyond that, where everyone's partnering, whether it's industry and school and nonprofits and individuals, to help just further that effort. And the goal of the Texas Girls Collaborative Project is very much in line with our mission at Abbott, which is to strive to do our part to develop the next generation of STEM leaders by giving them opportunities to discover what so many of us engineers have, that STEM is impactful, it's creative, it's interesting, it's meaningful. It's not just number crunching and sitting at computers. STEM professions change the world as we know it for the better, and programs like this are what's going to get us there and help achieve that. So thank you for giving us the opportunity to share our STEM blueprint and how we want to continue evolving. Azita Bayat and myself are the chairs here in Austin, so it's been a lot of fun. I want to let you know Trisha Berry and the UT Women's Engineering Program have been fabulous to work with here locally. But we're your local contacts if there's anything we can help provide after this. So just a little bit about Abbott for those who may not be aware, but just want to give you a brief overview of our company. So we have over 130 years experience in the healthcare world. We have revenues of over $31 billion, and we employ over 100,000 employees worldwide. We are separated into 4 distinct business units, which work hand in hand with the same vision of helping our patients live life to the fullest. Outside of the US, we have a pharmaceutical division, but globally, we operate in nutrition with names you may recognize like Pedialyte and Ensure. And with our medical devices business unit, we manufacture and sell products for patients with heart issues, such as stents, pacemakers, and ablation products to treat atrial fibrillation, as well as patients with diabetes with continuous glucose monitoring and patients with drug-resistant pain with neurostimulators. And Abbott has been recognized not only for our stock performance, but also for philanthropic work that we do, like the diversity of our employees, and as a great employer for working mothers. And last year, we rang the opening bell at Wall Street on Women's Equality Day for the work that we've done to break down barriers for all women and girls in STEM fields. Today, we're excited to share the blueprint we have developed with you.
Hi guys, this is Lynn Schroeder, and I am proud to be here to talk to you about our blueprint and answer any questions you might have. We are going to just go through some of the high-level pieces of our blueprint today, but we definitely have the full blueprint on our website. It will be sent out after the webinar, and we appreciate any questions or comments that you would have as we go through the information. So in order to have a high school program, the objectives for us were really clear. There were a variety of things. One of them was to really help ensure that we can demystify a STEM career for high school students. As Jessica mentioned, we want to make sure that we are exposing young people to mentors, to projects, doing meaningful real life work experiences, and that's a big part of our program objectives. It is obviously also the intent to increase the diversity of our STEM pipeline and making sure that we provide access to these experiences to underrepresented students such as women, racial and ethnic minority groups, as well as people that come from lower income backgrounds. And what we have found to be true is really by providing these experiences younger in their career, we're helping the students succeed in their STEM fields as they go on to college and ultimately in their career by giving them real world access to the types of engineering or the types of other STEM fields that they might be interested in. They get a real world application to understand what does this mean in a professional environment versus what have I learned in academia, and is this really what I thought it was, and is this really what I want to focus on? 97% of our students have stayed in STEM. And so to us, we believe that that's really helping succeed in STEM, even if they're not staying with Abbott or they're not staying with a type of engineering or other STEM field that fits with us. If we retain them in STEM, that's still really incredibly important to the broader community worldwide. The intent of our blueprint was really to kind of help you learn from our best practices, from our advice, for other things that we've learned throughout the years that will help someone either start or expand their own program to really help grow the STEM program. We can't do this by ourselves as an organization. We need many other companies to join with us in this type of work to really help change the future in the face of STEM. When we talk about the blueprint, we'll talk about kind of the key stages. One of them related to really planning, getting ready to even determine if you want to host a program and what that might look like, preparing to launch a program, the execution of the program itself, and then what are the metrics and what are the success stories and what are the things that you would measure both short-term and long-term. The first piece is probably one of the most critical. The planning piece is really important if you're going to be successful in something like this. And probably the most essential is really your business case. Do you have an appropriate business strategy to determine if you have the right program for a high school internship program? Is there specific needs within your organization? Are there specific business cases that would resonate with your organization's? Examples being like, are there specific types of engineering or computer science or other things that would be of a need to your type of business? It's really important that you're tying the needs and the STEM needs specifically to what your organization can support. Critical to this process is having good internal allies. There are so many people involved with the development and the execution of a program like ours. One example would be what types of employees would need to be involved. What are the teams? Who are the types of people? So you think about people like legal and public affairs and HR and your business leaders and your business managers, all of those are really critical in understanding whose support you will need to execute this and how do you get them aligned and supportive of your program. A piece of this is also related to funding and resources. So while these programs are not terribly expensive to run, there are funds associated. So how do you plan on managing the budget? Will you have one business unit fund it? Will you fund it at your corporate level? What specific things, and we go into more detail in the blueprint, but what types of things might you cover? We cover, in addition to salary, we host a variety of events, as well as we provide clothing and other items for any students who might need things like that. And if you plan to expand your program, when we started our program, we had 3 people in one location. We now have close to 50 in more than 8 locations. And so if you plan to expand your program, do you have the funding to do that increase? Will you continue to have the right funding to grow your program? And one of the most critical pieces would be executive buy-in. Do you have people in your organization at the executive level that this type of program really resonates with? Do you have somebody that has a story that is aligned? Our senior leadership and the sponsor that developed our program, initially, she has since retired, but she had her own experience in high school that led us to the type of program that we have. And having her support with our business leaders and with others in the organization was critical to the support and the execution of a program like ours. When you're getting ready to launch it, you want to think about things like I mentioned, like how many interns will you have? How many locations might you host them in, or how many different units? When we hosted our initial students, we had 3 interns, 1 location, and actually just sitting in 1 business. It allowed us to really manage the process, keep an eye on things, manage the leadership directly of the students as well as their assignments. And then as we continued to grow and gain support and understanding of the program, we could determine how we want to do this. We are 9 years in, so we've expanded many times over the years. But what would that time period look like for your company? When you think about communications, there are internal communications. Who do you need to speak to? Again, who are the people that would be critical with understanding what you're doing if you're preparing to launch a program for an internship? And what would your communications look like? And then what would your rollout look like, both internally and externally? We have communications that we use internally. We have communication pieces that we use with students, with parents, with schools that we're partnering with. And so all of those pieces are really critical to think about before you're prepared to go out and reach out to people outside of your organization. When we're looking for high schools, that piece is really important. So we do our recruitment directly with specific high schools that are local to our intern site locations. We don't obviously relocate high school students given that they're minors. And so it's important that they can get to the location, but even more important is looking at things like, what does the curriculum support? We have STEM-focused organizations that we partner with, high schools that offer something like a Project Lead the Way or a STEAM or a STEM or an International Baccalaureate, programs that would have the curriculum that would support that. But in addition, we're looking at the things like their graduation rate, their diversity of their programs, their low income, and things like that as we're choosing a partner school. And we also look for them from our perspective to see how involved. We do expect partners. They are great partners to us. So they support us throughout the recruitment and internship and even attend events. And that would be something to think about. How involved do you want the high school to be in your process? What value will they add? We've had a variety of activities with our high schools, including supporting them if we find something that we think that maybe they could help us with from a curriculum perspective. We can contact the schools, let them know where we're seeing gaps, and see how they can help support and address it. And then mentors, as you guys spoke about, a Million Women Mentors, it's really critical that these students have an employee mentor and that it's somebody that is approachable, that they can work with, that are potentially comfortable working with a high school student or have the capability to work with a high school student. So you want to think about what would that look like and how would you then execute that. And then from an execution, so you're ready to kind of launch your program and execute, now you're getting into recruitment and the program itself. Recruitment, when you're looking at it, you're looking at your specific areas of STEM. So what are the traits and skills that you're looking for in a prospective intern? In addition to kind of the more generic technical things that they might have curriculum to support, you're looking at, do they have demonstrated leadership in school activities? Are they involved in community service? Do they do well on teams? Can they present well? Are you looking for any specific demographics? And also, what would your interview process look like? Ours can be a mix of in-person and digital interviews. What would that look like in your particular environment? From a job description standpoint, we look at the job description across our whole program. And really, again, it's kind of a STEM intern focused description for us. And it encompasses all the various areas of STEM that we would include. And we really look to our college descriptions and our full-time descriptions to really kind of understand what are the specifics that we would want to include and then work that down into a high school description. Onboarding and orientation can be really critical for this as well, especially because many of these students have never worked a job before. So making sure they have a full, solid understanding of what do they need to know, what are the types of things they need to be prepared for, whether it's doing the various kind of legal and technical things in your system, as well as getting ready to be present in an orientation. What types of things would you include in that, and who else from your various locations would need to be involved in something like that? You want to consider intern pay and hours. How much will you pay them? Again, we look to our full-time and our college program to determine what do we think makes sense from a high school pay perspective. From an hours perspective, because they're in high school, because many of them have additional activities that might include sports or marching band camps or even college orientations, we have our students work 30 hours a week, which allows them to continue to do the other things that make sense and that are important for them. Intern assignments are critical. You want to make sure that you have the right business leaders and the right managers involved in determining an assignment. As was mentioned previously, these are hands-on assignments. So we want to make sure that they are getting something, that they're getting an experience that will really add to their STEM education and their STEM work. And in addition to having those managers create these assignments, and we have a template that we use, we also have somebody that is at each site who is considered like a technical advisor who helps review those. While I manage the program, I sit in HR. I've worked in HR most of my career. And so it's incredibly helpful to have somebody with a more technical engineering or other type of background who can review these to really understand, does it make sense? Is this going to align with what the students are looking for and needing to get from an experience perspective? Another piece that's important and critical is professional development. So will you provide lessons outside of their internship? We provide things like resume skills, interview skills, presentation skills. We do site tours. We work on interview etiquette and dressing for success and all sorts of things that we want to make sure that in addition to building kind of their technical understanding, we're really helping to develop their professional persona as well. And what are any additional logistics? What other things might you need to think about before you prepare to launch your program? And then from a measurement standpoint, as you're building a program, you're wanting to think about what are the things short term that you want to measure? Is it your diversity metrics? Is it your hiring? Is it the number of applicants? And then you're thinking longer term. So how are you going to define success long term? Do you consider conversion into your college program? Are you considering conversion into your full-time program? Are you measuring things like retention into a STEM field? One of the things, because we've been around for 9 years, we've seen pull through all the way to the program. as of this last year, we had 11 students who have made it through our college program who are now employed as full-time employees. And of the 11, 8 of them are females. So those are the types of metrics that are powerful and the things that we would like to measure. And in addition, what is the student and social impact? So what are you looking for, again, in terms of community and broader impact into STEM? As I mentioned about STEM retention in the field, we may not retain all of them. Part of the experience is determining if this is a fit and if this is something they love and would want to do long term. From the students that we have had go through our program, 97% of those students have stayed in STEM. While they may not all be a fit for Abbott and the type of work that we're doing, as long as they're staying in STEM, we still feel like we're doing the right things and we're building that community and the broader pipeline of STEM. And that's critically important as we look at the STEM gaps that are existing and how we can contribute to those things. And with that, I will open it up to any questions that you may have.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. I think the way that this is formatted and the way that you share the questions and the things for people to think about will definitely help other organizations think about how they might be able to design a similar program. We do have some questions, so let me throw a few of these back out at you. So let's start. You talked about this just a little bit earlier on about how your program has grown and you've had now 9 years of doing this, but how do you decide what size of a program you should host? How do you think about that when you're starting out?
That's great. So you really want to look at the size of your organization and what the needs are. And it's looking at everything from what are your entry level hiring needs? What does your college program look like? What are your development programs if you have them? And we don't anticipate that we're going to convert every single one of our high school interns into our college program and into full-time. That's not what we're trying to do. But we do want to make sure that we are bringing in enough students that make sense to continue to build that pipeline, but also align with the broader hiring. And so I would look to your organization for things like your hiring, look at your last several years. Where have your gaps been? What are the things that you're looking for? Or maybe where have you struggled, and use those to potentially help guide those decisions.
Awesome. So you mentioned that just now that your goal isn't necessarily to get these interns converted into your full-time hiring pool, but that probably would be an ultimate goal, perhaps. Are you seeing any of these interns coming into that full-time hiring pool?
We are, and so while we can't expect to convert everyone, we certainly want to provide them with the right experiences, and if they're a fit, continue to bring them. So as of last year, we're obviously finishing our hiring for 2020, but for example, for us, as of last year, we've had 125 interns come through our program, and 70 of those have converted into our college intern program. So a really good statistic in terms of, do they still stay connected with Abbott? Are they still interested in the type of working that we do? And as I mentioned, at our 9-year mark, 11 of our high school students are now in our full-time professional development program, and 8 of them are females. We'll have additionally 4 students starting this summer on a professional development program. Of the 4, 3 are females and 2 of them are diverse. So we're definitely seeing success and seeing those metrics grow and continue to be positive.
That's amazing. Those are some great numbers. And I think that really does speak to the importance of those relationships and how important relationships are in particular to our women students. When they see what those opportunities are and have the opportunity to build those relationships, they're much more likely to stay engaged and stay involved. And you're seeing that all the way through. That's fantastic. Okay, I have just one last question for you. So, do you have a memorable internship story that you maybe want to share with us or leave with us?
There's so many memorable students, I have to be honest, but I think the ones that touch me specifically are the students who, there are some students who come from very difficult backgrounds, who come from places where they might be the person during their internship who is making the most money in their family for that season. We've had a student, we actually got a note from a parent, and their daughter was in Project Lead the Way in high school and doing the pre-engineering classes. And because she was the only female and one of the only diverse students, was ready to drop out of those classes, and then connected with us and said, wait, there are people who look like me who can do this. There are people who are like me who are succeeding in this field, and so I can continue to do this. And I think that's the message. And I think when you're talking about your mentoring, that's just such a special piece of this, is when you're able to talk to these students and they're like, you let me know that there is someone like me out there that I can connect with, and that I know that I can be successful in this field, because not everybody gets that kind of support in their school environment or their home environment. And so when they're able to see people like them contributing and doing amazing things in the professional field, it just really encourages them. And those touch my heart. I honestly cry almost every year over the stories and this things that the students share with us personally about what they've experienced.
Well, that's amazing. And I think that definitely speaks to the power of mentoring, the power of the relationships, and the importance of giving students these kinds of opportunities so they can see themselves in these STEM roles down the road. Well, again, thank you so much, Lynn, and thank you so much, Jessica, for joining us and sharing about this amazing STEM blueprint. We will definitely share the links out afterwards and make sure that everyone has access to that. And hopefully we'll see more organizations and companies joining in something like this to give more and more students this opportunity. With that, I wanted to just remind people we are doing these webinars monthly. Our next one is on May 19th, and we're focusing on camp creativeness, which I'm assuming many will be in the creative space this summer as we figure out how to do camps virtually and provide online experiences and continue that STEM learning for students throughout the summer. We offer these webinars on the third Tuesday of each month, so join in when you are able. I also wanted to give a shout out and reminder to our Texas Women and Girls in STEM Summit, which is coming up on Friday, December 4th. We'll have the call for presenters open up in July, so stay tuned for more information there. And with that, thank you again to our friends from Abbott. Thank you for sharing your fabulous blueprint. Thank you to all of you who joined in, and we'll see you next month.